Blog Talk Radio.
Stone Guardian, Crystal Keeper, Gin Lovers Rockhound, welcome to There's a Rock for That.
Welcome, everybody, to There's a Rock for That on the Psychic Talk Radio Network. I am your host, Mary Brown, coming to you live from Amarillo, Texas, where it's cha-cha. We're like in the hundreds today. Awful. Or great, depending on your perspective, right? It's all about perspective and perception. Anyways, this show is brought to you by the Tarot Guild, the international organization for tarot lovers, students, and professional readers since 2004. Please visit thetarotguild.com. And we are a live call-in show. If you would like to call in with your questions or comments about the show today, or if you want a free crystal mini reading, all you have to do is call 714-816-4628. That number again is 714-816-4628. And be sure to the number 1 on your dial pad so I can find you on the switchboard and know that you want to be live on the air with me. Hope you all are having a wonderful, wonderful Saturday afternoon or morning or evening, depending on where you're listening from, of course. I think it's going to be a fun show today. My crystal guest, the featured stone of the month, is Hanksite. That's an unusual stone, a little bit on the rare side, so I'm kind of departing a bit from, usually I talk about stones that are easily accessible, easy to find practically in any mineral shop. But this, I think, is a special stone for a special time that we are living in right now on the planet. And I'll get into that a little bit later. And also, you can also post a question or make a comment in our chat room. Our chat room is on our show page on the Psychic Talk Radio Network. You can find that by going to psychictalk.net. And the easy way to get to today's show page is just to go to psychictalk.net/upcoming. And you'll see it's the top show because of today's show. And you click on that. It takes you to the show. You scroll down beneath the player, and there's our chat room. Shout out to Dex Carlisle, who I see in the chat room today. And I hope you're having a good time, a good day today, Dex. Let's see what else is going on. I think I need to refresh the page. But anyways, you can find the chat real easily. Again, it's right underneath the player on today's show page. You can post a question in there if you don't want to call in. That's fine. There's Sharona. Hi, Sharona. And let's see, what else? Oh, be sure to join our Psychic Talk Radio Facebook group. You'll find that easily by going to psychictalk.net/Facebook. We have a page. We have a group. Like the page. Join the group. Join the conversation. And we also have a Facebook group for our Tarot Guild. Look for the Tarot Guild on Facebook and join our group there as well. We would love to have you. And see, what else? Let's talk about, first of all, in the Psychic Talk Radio Facebook group, I post a card of the day there practically every day. I try to do it every day. Nobody's perfect, right? But today I did post a card from the Eternal Crystals Oracle cards by Jade Sky with beautiful artwork by Jane Marin. And the card today is the Angelite card. Angelite is a crystal. I don't think we've talked about Angelite on this show. I think we'll have to feature that, on one of our upcoming shows. It's a wonderful stone, one of my favorites. They're all my favorites, really. But the message today with the Angelite card, it's about the throat and the crown chakras and connecting to angels and just kind of a reminder that, even if we think we're alone, we're really never alone. The angels and the universe are always there for us, providing all that we need, even a lot of times going unnoticed in how they do that, how they work with us. Talk to your angels. Ask them for advice, for guidance. It never hurts to ask. You have nothing to lose by asking your angels for a little bit of help. You don't have to even say it out loud. You can do it in your mind, any time, any place. And Angelite is this beautiful blue stone that has sometimes white streaks or white spots on it. And it's a crystal for communication, like a lot of our blue stones are. So it helps us to speak our truth. And it helps us to be able to find the right words. And especially with Angelite as a communication stone, this is talking about speaking our truth with love and compassion. It's got a very gentle energy to it. And helps us connect to our angels, helping us to connect to our higher self. So sometimes our emotions get all twisted up and we really want to communicate something to someone, but we're just too wound up that, we can stumble and we can say it the wrong way and it can come out in a way that doesn't really it's not conducive to real, open communication. So if you find yourself sort of struggling with that, if you, have a loved one, a friend, an acquaintance, a coworker that you really feel like you have something important to say to them and you're having difficulty getting it across in the right way, you might grab a little piece of Angelite and hold it in your hand or wear a piece of Angelite jewelry and, touch the stone and remind yourself that, okay, I want to say this to them, but I want to come from that place of love and compassion because this is why I feel the need to talk to them because I care. That's the thing that's interesting. A lot of times we say things to people because we care so much, but it doesn't always come out very caring. You know what I mean? I think you know what I mean. I think we've all experienced it. So anyways, you can see the card of the day again by going to the Psychic Talk Radio Facebook group, and you'll find it right there. And all right, we got some callers in the queue. I'm going to be getting to calls in a little bit, but I wanted to go ahead and talk about our crystal guest of the month, Hanksite, first, and then we'll be taking calls during probably the rest of the show, right? Hanksite is a really unusual stone. My friend and co-host on the Tarot Today show and the CEO of the Psychic Talk Radio Network and the Tarot Guild, Carlisle, usually puts together, our promotions for our shows, puts the pictures up, puts the graphic. He's a whiz kid. What can I say? He can put all this stuff together lickety split and put it out there, and there you go. And he was looking for pictures. Since I feature a crystal or a stone, it's kind of interchangeable there. Since I feature a crystal each month, he likes to put up a picture. And sometimes I, have I'll take pictures of my own stones, and sometimes he can use those. And he was looking online for pictures of Hanksite, right? And he messaged me, and he's like, it's weird. It's like, here's these ones that are kind of pale yellow, greenish. If you're looking at the show page, you can see it on the graphic there, kind of the little green stones. But then he was also finding these really bright blue ones as well when he was looking at pictures online of Hanksite. And it was kind of funny because it's like what some people don't realize, right? And it really, I thought, was really interesting because it made me realize something I hadn't thought about, is that when we're looking for a stone, and sometimes we just hear of a stone, we've never seen it in person. And so Hanksite is one that many people have not seen in person. So you're looking at those images of it, you could easily think wow, it's look at that neon blue looking version. Where do I find one of those? You are not likely to find one of those because the reason some pictures of Hanksite look bright blue is because that's what it looks like under UV light. Okay, it has that biofluorescence, and so it'll if you put a UV light on it, it'll look bright blue. It'll glow like that. So don't get discouraged if you're looking for Hanksite and all you can find are the kind of grayish, greenish, yellowish stones. Get a UV light and you can make yours look bright blue as well. And, that being said, look, it's not a stone you're going to find everywhere. Yeah, you can find some, specimens of it, online. Certain crystal shops. I know Crystal Age in the UK has a few specimens of it. You can probably find it on Amazon. I know you can find it on Etsy, probably eBay. But you're not going to find it necessarily in every metaphysical shop or every rock shop that you go to. It is rather rare, and because it's rather rare, it's a bit more pricey, right, than your stones that aren't so rare. But that being said, those prices are bigger because of its rarity, not necessarily because of gemstone value. Say a ruby or an emerald or a diamond or a sapphire, right? It's not a stone that is really thought of is having a value in the jewelry business, right? But rock hounds love it. And, I was going to say every year, but, things have changed right now with this global pandemic. The things that used to happen every year aren't happening every year. But every year for 77 years, there was a 3-day event held in Trona, California. This is around Cyril's Lake, where most Hanksite comes from. And 3-day Gymorama is what they called it. Did it for 77 years in a row. And people, rock hounds, gym enthusiasts, just people looking for a cool, different kind of thing to do, would gather there, all bring your mud boots, because you go into the kind of dried up lake bed there to dig up Hanksite. You find halite there. There's borax there. There's trona. There's other stones there as well, but everybody goes for the Hanksite, and they pull it out of the mud. And, usually huge crystals. I have a beautiful, well, actually, it's not that beautiful, but I have a huge piece of Hanksite that came from Cyril's Lake that is just phenomenal. I mean, this is getting gigantic crystals. And that's what the 3-day event was for 77 years, until the first a pretty bad earthquake in that area in 2019. disrupted. They had to cancel the event. A lot of their facilities took a lot of damage. They had a lot of rebuilding to do. And then along comes the pandemic, and nobody's meeting and having events and stuff. We all know the tale, right? But anyways, whenever any of this is finally over and we have some semblance of normalcy again, hopefully, think of put that event on your bucket list or just on your calendar. It's usually, I believe, in October. And again, this is in Trona, California, and you go out there and dig around in the mud and pull out giant pieces. I mean, there's so many pieces. And why is that, well, because one of the things that makes Hanksite so rare, right, is that it is, for one thing, it's one of only a handful of crystals that contain both a carbonate and sulfate ion groups, right? And so how Hanksite is formed, right, it's formed in these evaporate deposits. Basically, it happens in environments where it's an arid environment, right? And water's evaporating. And so water carrying the dissolved minerals and ions floods into dry lake beds, and then it just sits there. That's how you get all that mud. And the arid conditions evaporate the water and concentrate the ions, and that's how Hanksite is formed. And so it's really kind of a different kind of stone from most stones in that way. And so why might somebody want Hanksite, right? It's kind of this, sometimes sort of a colorless even, kind of gray, yellow. Parts of it can look black, kind of looking stone. It's not like usually, eye-catching. It's not really grabbing everybody's attention, right? It has these beautiful big tabular crystals, though, and often, you'll see like double terminations and stuff. It was discovered in 1885 and named in honor of Henry Garber Hanks because he was the first state mineralogist of California, and so they named it after him. Because it really is, kind of a Californian crystal. Since it, I think there's deposits in Uganda. And one thing to maybe consider now that you know how it is formed, is that in parts of the world that have lakes that are drying up, if the mineral deposits are there, we may see more Hanksite forming in different places around the world. But a lot of people consider Hanksite to be sort of the ultimate patient minerals, cleansing both the physical and energetic bodies, working on every level and dimension, working on every chakra. You have to kind of, have judge on your own, right? Have those experiences yourself. But I can share some of my own experiences with Hanksite with you, and how I came to get such a wonderful piece of it. It's funny. I was on Sharona Rapsik's show, The Magic Universe, recently, and we were talking a little bit about it. And my piece of Hanksite, I named it Hank, because it does seem to have a character to it. It kind of looks like a skull, and so I just named it. And what was funny was I was spending a weekend in Santa Fe, New Mexico, staying at a friend's place, condo in Santa Fe, and just hanging out. And I love Santa Fe. It's only about 4.5 hours from where I live in Texas, and we've gone there pretty often. And there's a store there, and I haven't been back since the pandemic, so I'm not sure I'm not sure what stores are still there and aren't there, right? But there was a wonderful store there called Dinosaurs and More, with a fantastic proprietor that owned the place, and he was like such a great rock hound. And oh man, his fossil specimens were just out of this. I want to say out of this world, but they're really like of this world, but of a different time, right? Great collection of dinosaur fossils, all kinds of stuff, and all kinds of crystals and stuff. And I was, doing my favorite thing, just kind of browsing around the store, looking at everything that he had, and I saw this piece of Hanksite. I didn't know it was Hanksite. I'd never seen Hanksite before. And it wasn't very attractive, it wasn't like, flashy, and exciting, like say maybe a piece of labradorite or, even just a quartz crystal that kind of just, can catch your eye. But I just couldn't identify it and didn't know what it was. And I'm like, what is that? And he's like, oh, that's Hanksite. I'm like, okay. And, he told me a little bit about, where it came from and how it formed. I mean, he knew his stuff, like genuine rock hound. And I thought, okay, great. And I kept browsing around. I probably bought a few crystals, other kinds of crystals. Didn't really think about it much. Oh, I think that's where I got this beautiful rainbow fluorite slab. But anyways, I digress. So I go about my day, go get some chocolates and, go to the marketplace and just, tooling around Santa Fe, going to all the places I love to go there. And, that night I'm sleeping and I just kept dreaming of that stone, that piece of Hanksite that wasn't really that remarkable in person other than, it was unusual. And I just kept, it just kept getting more and more and more intense. I felt like it was, I don't know, pulling me and in some way. And so I woke up the next morning and I was like, oh my gosh, okay, I've got to go back to Dinosaur and More. I've got to get that piece of Hanksite. I don't even know how much it costs. And I was thinking like, oh my God, it's going to be, a fortune because it was such a huge crystal. And I go back and I'm like, do you still have the Hanksite? And he's like, yeah, because like nobody's, clamoring to get it, right? It was kind of Dinosaurs, in More is like kind of a, a different kind of store. You don't have people, banging down the doors there, except for like, rock hounds and people into fossils. And usually the biggest draw to that store is the gigantic fossils. Everybody wants a fossil. And so there it was, and it was actually like within my price range. It was okay, and it didn't matter. I would have taken out a loan, I think, right? But I got it for under $100, I think. But yeah, it was just so intense, and I had no idea because it was like, other than just the basic mineral information he told me about the stone, I didn't really have, any knowledge of it. I didn't really know, like, I hadn't looked it up online to see what is it good for. Sometimes we do that. What stones do we need? But it was one of those great things that after the fact, after you find yourself so drawn to a stone and you have no idea why, you don't know what it does, what its purpose, what its history is, what people use it for, how they use it, and then you go back and you look it up and then you discover it was exactly what you needed. It was exactly what I needed at the time that I got it. I needed to connect to something that made me feel like lighter in a sense. I feel like, Hanksite is one of those stones that raises our vibration in a way. It kind of helps us rewire ourselves to the current energy. Sometimes we go through changes and transitions in life, and where our emotions and thinking and just our vibration is not in sync with the current condition. Life has changed, but we haven't. Okay, and I think that is why Hanksite, again, was like clamoring for attention right now, because I think a lot of us right now, we're not connected, and that's something that we didn't really talk about it in that way, but that's something that Sharona and I talked about when you guys should go back and listen to that episode of The Magic Universe. We talked about being in the now, being in the present, and I think in the context of, how do we connect to the magic in the universe? How do we connect to, that vibe of magic and miracles and wonder? And, it is about being in the now. But we didn't talk about connecting to we didn't talk about what the now is right now. And I think the now is peculiar for a lot of us. I think that we're not quite comfortable with it. I don't know how you ever get comfortable, with a global crisis or a global pandemic and things constantly changing. How do you be in the present when the present changes from day to day? How do you learn to flow with it? I think Hanksite is a stone that could be helpful in that way. One thing about it, though, I want to mention real quick, if you do happen to track down a piece of Hanksite, whatever you do not cleanse it with water. Okay, don't use water to cleanse it. It will dissolve when it gets wet, right? And you think, well, how can it do that if people pull it out of the mud? Mud is wet. They're pulling it out of a lake. Lakes are wet, but it forms from the water evaporating. So if you run it under fresh water, especially, then that is going to dissolve it. When they pull it out of the lake, and it's all muddy and everything, and sometimes it's got this kind of powder over the top of it if the bed is really dry. Usually what they do is they rinse it in brine, like a real salty brine, and do it real quick. With a little brush, and kind of scrub off, all the dirt and mud and everything, and then, dry it out, because you don't want it to stay wet. Salt water's kind of okay, but usually when we talk about cleansing crystals, that are our own crystals or around our house or in our collections or whatever, we're talking about, cleansing the energy of it. And a good way to cleanse Hanksite is to place it in a bowl of uncooked brown rice, because the rice will absorb the energy that you want to cleanse. But it's a very user-friendly stone, and it's one of those stones that you can connect to it really, really easily. I mean, so easily, right, that you can just see it in a store for the first time, and all of a sudden, boom, it's in your dreams, and you have to go back and get it, like I did. That may not happen to everybody. But the other thing that's really interesting to me, why I think it's such a timely stone, is and it goes back to how it forms. We think about it, and some of us think about it as sort of a glimpse of how things could eventually get in our world. Because in a sense, Hanksite, forming in the mud, is sort of a mirror of that primordial world before humankind began. And, a lot of people fear a state our planet could return to if humankind continues to mess up the environment. We could return to that primordial ooze. So in a sense, it's kind of a stark reminder. And because it has that connection to that time, the way back time, it also is a great stone for connecting to the past and past lives, even, sitting and meditating with a piece of Hanksite is quite the experience. It's an experience physically because you're aligning your chakras. It connects you to ancient. A lot of people think that it helps you to apply ancient wisdom to modern problems. And there's other things about it that are really kind of interesting too, that it's a stone great for water retention and detoxification and metabolism and cellular memory, intestinal problems, skin problems, drawing out impurities, clearing toxins, and stimulating our energy system and restoring our energy after an illness. So, again, I think that all those things sort of make it very, very timely. And the one other thing I wanted to talk about that I thought really kind of made the connection when I drew that Angelite card today. I thought about this because Hanksite also is a stone that is thought of as assisting you in speaking your truth and clearing your thought and helping to remove anger from your life, anger that festers underneath, right? Clearing anger, clearing jealousy, clearing resentment, clearing manipulation, letting you know when you've been tricked, or when you're, living, an illusion. So a lot of that, it helps combat restlessness and unwanted desires. I see that, and I think so many people are experiencing those things to some degree, whether they're experiencing them personally or they're seeing it in their friends or family members. And so I think all of that together sort of makes Hanksite probably one of the best stones that we could be working with ourselves right now. So that is a lot to consider. And I'm already halfway through the show here. I'm going to go ahead and talk about right now what we have coming up on the Psychic Talk Radio Network this week. And then we're going to start taking some calls and seeing what you have to say. But first, this week on the Psychic Talk Radio Network, our next show is going to be Sunday. That's tomorrow, August 8th, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. It's the Magic Universe Show with your host, Sharona Rapsick, and she's going to be doing open lines of free tarot readings, and she's going to be talking about card number 10 in the tarot, the Wheel. So that is going to be exciting. You want to tune in to that. And then our next show is going to be Monday, August 9th, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. It's the Wisdom of the Soul Show with your host, Janice Fuchs. And that will be followed by the Friday show, August 13th, which is at a different time, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. It's a spiritual guidance radio hour with angelic channel and healer Catherine Hahn. She's going to be talking about being a healer in the corporate world and giving free on-air guidance. And then I'll be back Saturday with my co-host Dax Carlisle for the Tarot Today radio show, and we'll be doing open lines and free tarot mini readings all show long, and that is at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. Again, So I'm going to try to get to all of these callers, and if I don't get to your call today, you can either talk to me next Saturday, because we're going to be doing open lines all show, me and Dax, or you can call into Sharona's show tomorrow or Catherine's show on Friday. You have a lot of choices out there. All right, and you can find that list of upcoming shows and also keep up with all our shows by going to psychictalk.net/upcoming. All right, so let's see who is the caller that has been waiting the longest here, and that is 30. Area code 330. Caller, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Hi, what's your name and where are you calling from?
Leslie from Manhattan, Kansas.
Wesley, Manhattan, Kansas. How cool is that? What can I do for you, Wesley? What do you want to talk about?
Yeah, about my job search. I'm very optimistic about securing a higher education position in my home state of Ohio, and I hope to land an offer and accept this coming fall or sometime here in the next several weeks. Do you see that happening?
Right. So, Ohio job in the fall or during the upcoming weeks. So let's take a look at that. And I'm going to do a couple of things here. I actually tarot deck handy today, and then we'll also pull a couple crystals and take a look. But what does it look like for you getting a job in your home state? The Judgment card, the Fool card, the Nine of Cups. Come on. Wow. That looks great. Now, there is one little tiny thing. The Fool card is always, it's always a fun card to come up, right? Because it's got this open energy and all these possibilities. Anything can happen. Sometimes things happen spontaneously, right? So with that in mind, I feel like this is something that could happen at any time. You talked about, is this going to come up in the next several weeks? But I think that in particular, you're looking at this coming up within the next 5 weeks, okay? And you can't get any better card in the outcome position than the Nine of Cups, okay? That is what we call the wish card. That is our, we're emotionally fulfilled by this, and so it kind of tells me that this is something that really, really you want to happen. You want to go back to Ohio, right? And then the other thing is having that Judgment card in the center. So the Judgment card is really interesting. Sometimes we think of that as a card of the call or the calling. You see the angel blowing the trumpet. It usually, a lot of times for me, it carries like this sort of karmic kind of energy to it, right? Because it's almost like it talks about things that we're meant to do. So, think about that a little bit. You don't have to think about it right now, of course, right? You could do that, on your own time. But, think about that. Do you feel like this is really something that, like, is that big that, like, you're meant to do that. You're meant to return there. Because I just find that interesting. But I also find it fantastic that the Nine of Cups comes up here saying, like, this is something that is actually really going to make you emotionally fulfilled. So if, Kansas isn't, rocking your boat right now, that may be why that this it's just not where you're supposed to be. So just some things to think about. But yeah, it looks really good, and I would look at that time frame of the next 5 weeks for that to happen. Okay, and then just looking at pulling a crystal for you. I do get the it's really interesting, the green aventurine stone. So green aventurine, is associated again with the heart chakra, it's sort of like the Nine of Cups is, right? But also, self-care, growth, health. So maybe this move is even going to be like kind of healthy in other ways as well. Consider.
Yeah, I'm a guy that is a strong advocate of self-care, and I really believe what you're saying. I really believe what you're saying. That's going to happen between now and after Labor Day.
Yeah, that's that 5-week time frame, right? When's Labor Day? Wait, what's today even? Today's what, the 8th of I'm like, I don't know what day.
Today's the 7th.
Okay. And Labor Day's what, like the 1st, the 30th, around in there at the end of the month, right? Beginning of September?
Labor Day is September 6th, and 5 weeks from the day is September 11th.
Okay, so that puts us sort of right in that time frame. Excellent. Well, make sure you call back into the show and let us know what's happening, how it went, and, how the move is for you and what wonderful changes it brings, because I do think it's going to bring some wonderful changes for you.
Yeah, I will. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Have a good day.
You too. Thanks for calling. Okay. That was awesome. Let me put all my tarot cards back together here, my stones back, and let's go ahead and see who else has been waiting the longest here, and that is, looks like area code 801. Area code 801. Caller.
Hello, I am here.
Hi, what's your name and where are you calling from?
I am calling from Utah, and my name is
Charlotte. Charlotte! Oh my gosh, I was thinking about you yesterday.
You were?
It's so. Yeah, I was. You know why? Because like on Fridays, Friday's my day off, and so I binge watch Ancient Aliens, right?
Oh.
And of course, that makes me think of Charlotte. I'm joking. But no, it did, because, it was one of those super scary episodes about Skinwalker Ranch. And I'm watching it, and I was like, oh, my God, Charlotte, don't go there. Don't go there. You're going to get pulled into another dimension.
Yeah, I have no intention of going there. None.
Okay.
Even though it's quite close, I have no intention.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay. But yeah, you popped into my head. I'm like, oh my gosh, I hope she's not like, because you're adventurous. Anyways, what do you want to talk about?
Well, I mean, I will admit the desire to maybe drive by the boundary is there. Just
you're going to get pulled through a portal.
Do I want to cross the boundary line?
We're going to have a seance to talk to you. You can't do this. You don't leave us, Charlotte.
Well, if you don't hear from me, you'll know what happened.
Yeah, and then we'll have to get all our paranormal folks together to try and contact you.
Yeah, pull me back through the wormhole.
So what's up?
Well, first of all, that stuff on the Hanksite was super cool. I did not know that. It is a stone that I need ASAP. Seriously.
You're gonna, like I said, you can find it. But yeah, it's not everywhere.
Yeah, but
look online. I saw some pieces for sale on Etsy recently, and also on Crystal Age's website too.
Yeah. Yeah. So
That you might find something.
I'm definitely gonna look. But
well, if you get it, you got to let me know what your experience is like with it. But go ahead.
I will.
What do you want to know?
I so wish I had it right now because it ties in with my question even. So, I've been absent for most of the summer because I actually was able to pick up a job that, I was able to do with my knees that, don't really like to function sometimes. They're bone on bone. And that's not an oh poor me thing. It's just fact of life for right now.
Yeah.
But
sure.
I felt really lucky but place seems to be really, really toxic. And I'm wondering what you see, because I'm like, it's like it has drained every ounce of positivity out of me that, I'm like, my brother went, you have not been the same person since you started that job. And I went, I haven't? And he goes, no. He goes, you used to be Miss Positivity, and I haven't heard you say anything positive since you started that job.
Wow.
Frankly, there's been, it's the oddest place, but there's literally been bullying, harassing, and the owners are just like, yeah, we know that happens.
How big of a place is it? Are there more than 15 people that work there?
More than 15, yeah, but barely. It's small. It's small. It's, so,
and
yeah.
What do you want to know? Like, what's your question about it?
I want to know, because I actually, and all of a sudden I find myself being put on a 2-week sick leave. And I'm like, anyway, so, I don't know if they're tired of, because I don't go running to the owners every time somebody does something crappy to me, because I'm just like, I'm a big girl, whatever. But other people do. And I don't know if they're tired of hearing about it. So they're like, we need a break. Put her on sick leave for 2 weeks. Of course, unpaid. But, I guess my question is, do you see me going back there? Because part of me is like, it's toxic, don't do it. But the other part of me is like, just make it through the season because it's a seasonal thing. And then, I hate to say this, I shouldn't say this on air, but then you can get your unemployment through the winter if you can't find another job that's compatible with your needs.
Right. So let's take a look at that. Do we see you going back there? And I'm just going to use my crystal-powered tarot cards here and then a few other tools. Let's see. So do we see you going back there? Look, I see you needing to decide. I think there is real potential for this 2 weeks to turn into a longer absence. Okay. The moon card comes up here, and then we get the Ten of Swords. So, in a way, the Ten of Swords does fit with, that sort of backstabbing and kind of, harshness that you're experiencing there. But often the Ten of Swords signifies the end of a difficult period, right? The Six of Swords comes up as well, which is usually, when we go through a difficult time and all of a sudden, it's like now, we been able to move through it, and things are going much smoother for us. And in the end here, we have the Magician card. And the Magician card is great, because it's a card of like using our will, right? And saying like, okay, what do I want to manifest? What can I make happen? So it could very well be that, and also the Moon card's connected to intuition. So you can use your intuition to guide you, right? Listen to that voice. Don't shut it down, okay? What's your gut feeling tell you? What decision do you want to make? It's not, the Magician isn't passive. The Magician is a very active energy. Okay, what do I want to manifest? What do I want to create? And so that's why I'm saying you've got to make a decision about this. As far as like returning, going back, any cards that would talk about that are not coming up here. This is all saying like, look at, your destiny is in your own hands here. But, there's a lot to think about. The needs, the potential, unemployment, but whatever, unemployment, being able to get it's not always a guarantee, especially even with seasonal work, right? Especially with seasonal work. So, those are all things to think about, but I'm not really seeing any indication that you're going back. I do see an indication that things are going to improve, so that's good. But they may improve based on the actions you take, okay? And just seeing what the stones have to say about it. Those stones, what are you saying? Let me just get out my crystal dice here. I'm actually going to do a double roll and see what happens. Because you never know. Oh, wow. Oh, two. Lot of twos, lots of fours as well. And, with the main thing the crystals are saying here, what really stands out is it's sort of like this red jasper that comes up as a 5. How much is this environment that you described as toxic impacting your sense of self, of security, of safety even? Red jasper is a great stone. It's got this real protective energy to it. It's a root chakra stone,
Yeah.
And so, one thing about it, and the reason I love red jasper so much is that it kind of reminds us, like, okay, how grounded am I? And am I in? One of the things that's really unique about red jasper, right, is that it helps us to become aware of and make changes when we are in a situation that is unjust, unfair, not fair to ourselves. That's one of the ways that it helps protect us, right? Because we put up with a lot of stuff that's not fair to us sometimes because we make excuses and we justify it.
Right.
It's like, I'm really, I'm really getting screwed here, but, for the money's good. It's something, it's one of those things, that just kind of fits my situation. And, more than one thing can be true at a time, right? It may be very true that, the parameters of this job fit your requirements, right? You want something that's not going to be so hard on your knees, okay? But what how hard is it being on your emotions?
Yeah, it's been brutal.
Yeah.
It's been brutal.
What did you say? Was it your brother that said you haven't been positive since you took this job? He hasn't heard one positive thing out of you? That's not the Charlotte I know.
It's not the Charlotte that has worked on being that way for the last 5 years. And but it's like I walked into that job and they just kicked my feet out from under me. And I haven't been able to, I function in the job fine. It's not like I'm making mistakes on the job or anything like that. But
no, that's great for the job. But what does that do for you?
Well, it's been bad. It's been really, really bad. Really bad. Charlotte. We're body, mind, and spirit. We're not just a placeholder in a corporation. Yeah.
Look, I hear you. I know there's the practical side of things. There's the we got to eat, we got to sleep, we got to keep a roof over our head side of things. But I would look for other ways to do it. If it's killing your soul, not literally, but that feeling of it's killing my soul. As somebody myself who has really let jobs eat me alive. Not really eat me alive, but eat up everything, eat up my time, eat up my headspace, work like a dog for decades for other people. I can tell you that there's a lot of things that I might have done a bit differently if I had been willing, to prioritize my own, peace of mind and self-care instead of being, on the hamster wheel constantly,
Right.
It's all connected. Our emotions and our mental state are connected to our physical state, So, that I think it's time to really check in with yourself on this. And things like, okay, you talk about this issue with your knees. It's bone on bone, and so this job is not, it's a job where you don't have to use your knees a lot, I guess is what you're saying. That you can do it with your knees, but has it been helping your knees? How has it been impacting you physically? Because what you're describing to what it's doing to your emotions and your mind, right? Not being able to be positive, I would be surprised if it wasn't impacting you physically as well. And so that's also something to consider.
Yeah, it did. And it took me to a pain threshold that I had as yet to experience about 2 or 3 weeks in. I got home from work and there was no way to get comfortable. My pain meds weren't even touching it. And, I pushed the limit on the pain meds and it didn't even touch it. And I was like, wow, this is unreal. And I literally just, it sounds, I really do not want this to sound like, oh, poor me, as much as, this is what happened. But I literally laid flat on my bed for the rest of the night because it hurt too bad to move. And I have never been like that. And,
it blew your mind.
Yeah.
It blew your mind, right?
Yeah, and I didn't even put 2 and 2 together until actually yesterday I started thinking about, how many times have you been told you store your emotions in your knees? And I went,
yeah.
And now see, you're kind of saying the same thing. And, so I'm,
look, I feel like on some level you kind of know the answer here, right? Let's look at something real quick. Storing your emotions in your knees made me think, wait a minute, I have this book. It's kind of funny. I don't know. Are you familiar with Louise Hay? Who started Hay House?
They just said, is it the Louise Hay book?
Heal Your Body.
Yeah.
Where it looks at the mental causes, the physical illness, in a metaphysical way. And, I'm looking here. I just, grabbed it here, and I'm looking at, what she says. And look, knee problems, right? And she may have that, but her knee problems entry. And there's no judgment here. I'm just reading it, okay? But knee problems, stubborn, ego and pride, inability to bend, fear, inflexibility, won't give in.
Yeah.
I'm just reading a book here. I'm not judging you.
No, I know. I'm like, ouch, and ouch, but truth, and truth. So,
so those are like the probable metaphysical causes, and the new thought patterns that she recommends is being flexible and flowing, forgiveness, understanding, compassion. I bend and flow with ease, and all is well. All is well. Louise Hay.
I love Louise.
So much to think about in just that little teeny tiny entry on knee problems, and what the tarot tells us that you have the ability to manifest what you want, that you can move through this situation, that you could put an end to this difficult time. It's just think about it, tune in with yourself, and look for other solutions, other ways of going about it, That's all I can. That's all I got for you. Because it is that I'm worried about you. I'm worried about you. I'm more worried about this than I'm worried about you getting trapped in and going through a portal at Skinwalker Ranch now. And that was my main concern when we started this conversation.
Honey.
Be well. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, so step away from the radio show for just one moment. But, the Sandwash Wild Horses, that page.
Oh, it's breaking my heart. Yes.
I was driving through that area every single day.
Have they rounded them up yet?
I didn't see one wild horse.
Yeah, BLM is rounding them up.
All of them?
I think
are they just doing herd management?
Don't get me started. But I'll tell you what, you go to Sandwash Basin's Facebook page and read it and weep. Because that's what I did.
No, I haven't checked it out for a while, but
Check it out. They're talking about it. Look, and we're all heartbroken. I've never been there. I followed them religiously. I just. But anyways, yeah, go check it out. And for everybody else listening, I mean, if you love wild horses, if you love that wild spirit of the American West and what the Mustang represents for so many of us, head over to the San Wash Basin Facebook page on Facebook, obviously, and at least express some empathy and some compassion. These are people that have dedicated their life to those horses, and they're really going through a heartbreaking moment right now. So, calling in, and I am out of time. So
yeah, well,
I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend, and you have a lot to consider, young lady. Okay.
I do, first and foremost, staying away from Skinwalker Ranch, and then, although,
please.
that might be preferable to this job, to be honest.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Another dimension I don't think is a good, a substitute for a better job. I think you'll find other choices.
They'll come back as a superior being, and, yeah.
Well, there's that with superior knees would be great,
Yeah. Yeah, me and my super knees.
Yes.
So,
you have a great weekend.
I will.
Oh, you're so welcome. Take care. Bye-bye.
Right. Bye-bye.
All right. Well, that was fun. I always love to hear from Charlotte, and I always love to hear from all of you. And I am out of time already, but if I didn't get to your call today, definitely call in tomorrow to the Magic Universe show with Sharona Rapsick, or you can call in next Saturday to the Tarot Today show, and Dax and I will be taking your calls all show long. And I want to thank everybody in the chat room and everyone who listens online and archive later. And it's going to be an exciting weekend, I think, for everybody. I just get that vibe. I'm feeling kind of owlish, so I'm tuning into all kinds of things, my nocturnal creatures. Anyways, I love you all, and I bid you adieu for now. Bye-bye, everybody.